Two households, both alike in dignity, in Targon, where we lay our scene, from ancient grudge break to new mutiny, where civil blood makes civil hands unclean. From forth the fatal loins of these two foes, a pair of star-crossed lovers take their life, whose misadventured pietous overthrows do with their death bury their parents' strife. Hello, lovers and Lunarlanders. My name is Tibius Guine, and because Targon is the next region that's being added to Legends of Runeterra, there's a new Tales of Runeterra short out to commemorate the addition of the new region, something which I hope Riot are planning to continue as they add, I guess, Shurima and Bandle City eventually to the game. I don't know if Bandle City is ever going to be added, but here's hoping. And I don't like it that much, unfortunately. I'm kind of unhappy to say that because it does feature my favorite doomed lesbian angst couple, Diana and Leona, and we'll talk about them as we get into the damn thing. But this thing is, at least in my opinion, the weakest of the Tales of Runeterra shorts. And there's a couple of reasons for that. The animation is fairly downbeat. It's there, but it's not doing anything that's particularly exciting to me, particularly. And the direction, especially the direction of this thing, is a little bit, for me, on the lackluster side. So the way we're going to tackle this is, normally I just start at the beginning and then start going frame by frame, obviously, but the way we're going to handle it this time around is that basically we're going to do what's going to amount to kind of a reaction video, which is not what I usually do, but I'm going to turn the sound on the animated short. We're going to go through it, and I'll talk through some of my thoughts and concerns about this thing, and then after that, we'll go into and talk specifically about the animation of the thing. So we're gonna get a combination animation breakdown and, I guess, traditional reaction video out of this one, which I hope you'll be okay with, because I've got some stuff I want to talk about when it comes to this thing particularly.
The prisoner! She's gone!
So, this is the same establishing shot we've seen in all the Tales of Runeterra shorts. It's a format thing, and it's completely fine. There's no problem with this thing. It tells us we are on the Sunward Temple, Mount Targon, yada yada yada. This is what the place looks like, full of mountains and stuff, and we get a little bit of establishing dialogue.
The prisoner! She's gone!
Telling us, okay, there's a prisoner that's gone, these people are chasing after them, alright, so they're the bad guys, I suppose, or maybe the prisoner's the bad guy, who knows, but we understand, the central thrust of the conflict immediately, which is fairly efficient storytelling. But then we get to one of the first problems with this thing. I don't care about these two. I just don't. I'm sorry, but no, I don't care about them. And there's a few reasons why. First of all, because they're completely new characters. These are not pre-existing characters. They have not been anywhere in League of Legends lore before. That's fine, though, because neither were the kids at the start of the Demacia short. The little kids who were playing it being Fiora and Garen, they weren't pre-established characters either. But with them, it's oh, they're little kids. They're playing at being the Demacian heroes. They metaphorically stand in for the future of the Demacian nation, and they have an interaction, an actual interaction where they talk and they meet Garen and Fiora, and there's some stuff going on there. These two kids, they never meet Leona and Diana, really. Leona and Diana happen to be in this short, but it's almost entirely divorced from anything that happens to the kids themselves. They don't get to have much dialogue with each other, where, the boy and the girl in the Demacia short had this dynamic with each other where, the boy is, overconfident, the girl is a little bit cautious, but then once they get into the play, she's oh, I'm Fiora. You get this sense of a personality, a relationship between them that goes back further than the moment that the animated short started. And there's the problem with these particular kids is, there's some allusions to a past that happened in one of their lives, not both of their lives, actually. The girl specifically says that she has seen some kind of vision in some pools somewhere. Never really explained, but I can take a guess at what that is. Where, oh, it's the eclipse is going to be the thing that lights the path to our salvation, as though there's some kind of prophecy about the two, which, okay, that all sounds very interesting, but none of it is ever elaborated on, and the short doesn't want us to dwell on any of it, and it doesn't want to let us in to any of, what's their dynamic? How did these two kids meet? Was she a prisoner for a long time? And he was like her prison guard, and he brought her food and maybe some books and some clothes, and they got to talking and saw the humanity in one another's eyes? Or was she like a Lunari who was hiding as a Solari, and he found out her secret, but he didn't turn her in because like he thought she looked so like why are they in love? Why do they care about each other? The short isn't really interested in telling us that, and you can tell that from the character design of the characters in question, because these are the most painfully generic, like just the most painfully generic romantic protagonists you have ever seen in your life, with like the young handsome boy, like he's got a little bit of that teenage awkwardness about him, but he's got those high cheekbones and the romantically tousled hair, and he's taller than her, and she's got like the long braids and the cool face tattoo and the immaculate face. They're so like, the character design tells me these characters aren't interesting. And the story of the short itself tells me, oh, don't worry about it. Don't care about their relationship. What happened to them that established their relationship to this point is immaterial. It doesn't matter to you. The only thing that you should care about is that they're going to run up the mountain and die. Or not die, as the case may be. And that, to me, it's just, when they don't have any interactions with the champions that are when you come into a short like this, you're interested in the champions. You're interested in Diana. You're interested in Leona. You're interested in Tarek. You're interested in Aurelian Sol. You're interested in all the champions that might show up in the actual game. Those are the people that you have a connection to, where previous shorts have been very clever to either focus on champions or on characters interacting with those champions. Again, see the Demacia short. In this one, it's like, these people don't even get the benefit of having some kind of connection with, is that Leona's brother or something? Which begs the next question. Why are Diana and Leona in this short at all?
The Solari will be here soon.
And the Lunari already are.
That line there, by the way, like, the Solari will be here soon, and the Lunari already are, and then she looks around as though she sees them somewhere. And that, to me, is a little bit of this is a nitpick. And a lot of what I'm saying during this reaction section is just going to be nitpicks. But they're nitpicks that each individual one doesn't matter that much, but together they add up to just like a cavalcade of annoyances that make this thing not that much fun for me. She looks off meaningfully in the distance, like, oh yeah, the Lunari are already here. They're just off screen. We're not going to show them to you, but trust me, they're definitely there. Totally. Where the simplest thing in the world, I mean, not simple, it takes work and it takes budget and it takes time out of the production schedule and etc. But the simplest thing in the world from a storytelling perspective would be to cut to like some Lunari warriors hiding in the shadows of a cliff up there, like one of them pulling back a bow as though he's about to shoot the Solari boy, or like something else going on there where we get the introduction of the tension. Because that's part of the tension of the storytelling is, are these kids gonna make it together? That's what this short is asking us to care about. Are these kids gonna make it? And the best way to quickly make us care about whether someone's gonna make it is introduce a present and like looming element of danger. There's the element of danger of the Solari who are chasing them down, but they're far away. But if you got like a shot of a Lunari like aiming a bow at the two of them, but like not pulling the string yet, like not letting go of the arrow yet, because the girl is with him, so that you get the sense that he's only alive because she's with him, and she's only alive because he's with her. Oh, there's an interdependency between these two characters where like if they get separated from each other, they're both gonna die. Like that kind of thing. Okay, tension, something interesting, but what we get instead is just the Lunari already are. But then nothing, like no cut, no nothing, just that she seems to like all of a sudden go like,
I've seen.
Oh wait, I have just remembered a convenient prophecy that relates to our current situation. Wait, hang on, you just now, you're thinking of the prophecy which might be your only possible hope of escape from this situation has just come into your head now? That wasn't part of your plan when like he helped you escape? That like, there's a prophecy, there's a way we can get out of it, like, now, here, when you meet at the gate after you've escaped from the prison, you didn't have a plan to get away? You just ran up here and it's like, oh, you know what? Convenient prophecy just popped into my head that I've seen in the reflection pool before. It's not terrible. Again, I'm nitpicking, but along with everything else, it's one of those things that like just niggles in my brain. It's like, but if if the prophecy was earlier, you saw it already. Why didn't you not? It asks all these questions that it never gives me any answers to, and it just, instead of focusing on the thing that's actually happening, caring about the characters, my brain just goes, no, hang on, wait, what? Prophecy? Seeing in reflection pools? Wait, does that mean she's an there's so many questions it raises where it just kind of asks us to suspend disbelief and go along with it. And that's fine in a lot of situations, but when you do it too much, which this thing does, that's when you get me going off on a thing like, what the fuck are they talking about here? And when I already don't have that much reason to care about these two, when their character designs are telling me these are generic and boring characters that you're not supposed to get invested in, when the rest of the narrative of the thing tells me that these two people, like, who is this girl? Who is this guy? It doesn't really matter. They don't have personalities. They don't have histories. Nothing that happens to them matter because they're only here to serve as a metaphor for two other characters who don't have any real reason to be here except to observe the metaphor happening, which is Diana and Leona, the actual protagonists of the short that the short should probably have been about, but we'll get to that.
This before. A vision in the pools. When the moon blocks the sun, our path to freedom will be illuminated.
Again, it's such a, like, when the moon... Okay, so when there's an eclipse, your path to freedom will be illuminated. So this is a prophecy that relates specifically to the two of you? This entire eclipse is happening just so you two can get... Okay, fine, fair enough.
At Dragon's Roost.
I won't let them tear us apart, no matter the cost.
And again, I won't let them tear us apart no matter the cost would be a much more effective line if we had any sense of what the cost might be. Which we don't. We have no sense, again, because we don't have any, like, Lunari archers shooting at them. We don't have any Solari actually chasing them down saying, kill the traitor, or whatever. When he says this line, we have no sense of what the cost could like, what, do they get house arrest? Do their parents ground them for a week? Are they gonna get brutally murdered? Who knows? Because the short has not taken time to establish this, it just says the generic romantic line that you get in generic romantic stories and expects us to fill in the blanks, which again, sometimes that's fine, but sometimes when you rely on it too much, I just get annoyed and say, no, you do the storytelling. You can't just tell me to imagine all the stuff that probably happened beforehand to make this story interesting. That's your job to make me interested. So here's another little nitpick, and this is just a nitpick, like this is just a tiny little nitpick. You get this hug between them, but like they're reaffirming their love for each other, their commitment to one another, that they will escape or die trying, like whatever the cost may be. Then we get like the sound of the Solari coming up the mountain. And they're about to turn around and run away. And here's where, if I had been the director of this thing, which I shouldn't be because I'm not a professional animation director, but if I had been the director, what I would have done here is before they run, I would have done like a close-up on the two of them where they look into each other's eyes and they steel themselves and you get this sense of like they're silently communicating something or grasping each other's hands, and then they run. Like just this silent communication reaffirming, but what you get instead is this really long shot as they run away, which just feels kind of awkward. Like, that was a really long shot with absolutely nothing happening in it. Like, it's just... Well, you could have... Like, again, I'm seeing the opportunities for more interesting things to happen. Why is Leona there? Is a question I can't... She's the aspect of the sun. She's one of the most powerful people in the entire Solari tribe, one of the most important people there. Why is she here? Like, there's one Lunari has, like, escaped from prison and run away with her boyfriend. So why... And there's, like, 3 guards. There's 3 Solari... That's how important she is, right? Like, there's 3 Solari guards chasing after her, like, because, like, they're not sending the army, it's just, oh, a girl has run away, we're sending 3 guards. So why is the aspect of the sun there? And that was a thing that I didn't think about it the first time I saw it, but the second time I was like, no, wait, hang on. Why would Leona care about this? Like, why does this matter? Why is it important? So important that the aspect of the sun herself, a semi-divine entity that embodies the sun itself, comes down to do the chasing of the girl. It's again, it's that question that's being begged of, like, why would she care about this? Like, the obvious answer would be, 'cause Diana is there, and Leona cares a lot about Diana, but why is Diana there? Like, why does Diana... She's the aspect of the moon! She has, like, a whole world-spanning quest thing going on to save her people for... So why... Like, you could argue, okay, maybe she cares so much about every single Lunari that she would be there to protect them, I guess, which she fails at doing, by the way. But Why are they there? Like, why do they care about these people? Again, the obvious way to have handled this, like, you have these two characters who need to be important enough for Diana and Leona to give a shit about them, and you need people to be invested in their romance, in like whether or not they're gonna make it, what's gonna happen to them. The thing to do there is just like, so put a story on Universe about them. Like, have the writers do a story on Universe where you set them up and you give them time to have some character interaction and establish a chemistry and like make people have an opportunity to give a damn about their relationship, or a comic, anything. Like, do some legwork to set this stuff up before you ask us to care about the climax. Like, that would have been such an easy way to solve a lot of what annoys me about this thing, is if we had like a little bit more just to give us a reason to care, and which could establish also why Leona cares. Like, why does she care about some kids that are dumb and are gonna jump off? Like, why? Why does it matter? Is it because of the eclipse? I don't know. It's never indicated, but she's there with like 3 guards, because apparently that's how important she is, that they sent like 3 dudes running into the mountains after them. To say something positive, though, let me just step back for a second. I really like the shot. Like, one thing that's good, I should say, in entirely good, is this arc, like this portal thing, where the lovers meet, and once they pass through and run up the mountain, like this is when they pass into the realms of the divine. This is when we pass from the normal world into a world where anything can happen, into the magical realms of Targon. That's visually, that's a really strong little thing to have there, that like once they decide to run, they're literally passing through a threshold. They're crossing a line that they cannot uncross. That's a good thing. And I like that, like there's a point of Leona and the Solari guards also passing through that self-same arc in following them. And it's a strong visual element, and I like this shot where Leona orders the guards to run through, and the camera then swoops through the threshold as well, taking us with the characters over the threshold into the new world. And there's like this blurring effect where Leona kind of goes out of focus, and then we look at the mountain itself. It's a very good shot, this one. Like, that works. That really does give a good... That's a good sense of adventure with, like, using the camera to emphasize the mood of the thing. And again, here, just a little thing where, again, like, they're climbing up this mountain. It's a tough climb. It's difficult. Have them hold hands, like have them pull each other up or steady each other or lean on one another. Again, that thing of like establish some relationship between them, that they depend on each other, like visually with the character acting, but that's not there. They're just kind of hiking. And then there's Diana, who's just there. I found this shot so funny the first time because it's just like, these kids are climbing up a thing, I guess, whatever. And then, like, Diana's just there. Like, there's no, where is she? I don't know. She's just there in the shadow, dramatically, waiting so that she can step out of the shadows in a dramatic fashion. Like, Queen of Drama, this one, we stand a dramatic queen, but where is she relative to them? There we go. Finally, we know. She's really far away. Wait, why is she really far? How did she only notice them now? If they've been climbing up from this whole, like, they've been running over this ridge and climbing down, and now she's like opening her eyes and, oh shit, I missed them. They're up. It's such a strange thing. But the point of Diana being here, there is a point to her being in this location, like far away from the kids and the thing that's happening. There's a point to it, but it's such an odd thing. Like, where I would have started with like here, they're climbing up the thing, then do the same thing we did, like, use the camera movement, pull the camera back, have it swing around, look over to another cliff far away, and then have Diana step out of the shadows, instead of this weird jump cut. It's like, and this is a nitpick. Again, it's just a nitpick. It's not a thing that matters on its own, but in combination with everything else, it bothers me. Here's another question. Like, Diana, the girl is being chased by the Solari who you hate. You wanna... And the motorcycle is passing by my window. I don't know if you can hear them, but I sure can. Diana, this kid that you're protecting, this Lunari girl of the tribe that you've sworn your life to protect is being chased by these Solari guards. Do you wanna... Do you wanna... Do anything... like anything at all? To which the answer is no, because she... and I think the idea here is that she and Leona are both, like, waiting for the eclipse to happen or something. But that, again, requires some setup of, like, why do they care about the eclipse? Why do they want to wait? Like, why does she know Leona is going to be there and that's why she's not taking action?
It's almost time.
There's no path. What do we do?
Have faith.
So, this is fine, but it's, again, I don't... There's no path. What do we do? Oh, have faith, says the lady girl. And then she gets injured, and then he's like, I must have faith. And then he does the thing. It's again, it would have mattered. This would have worked. This would have hit so much harder and been so much better if there had been like a pre-story where he's the one who's having trouble having faith in anything, and she's someone who has faith in things, and that's part of their romantic dynamic, is that he sees like a spiritual certainty in her that appeals to him, that gives him a sense of calm or peace or security, that does something for him emotionally. But no, it's just have faith. Again, what I'm annoyed at is not so much what's there, it's all the stuff that's missing. It's all the stuff that could and should have been there in order to make this work. But it's not. It's like watching a house that only has like the upper story and there's no foundation and it's just floating there, and you're like, how the hell is that house floating there? And you don't know because it doesn't have... Anyway, this muddled metaphor.
There she is. And him? Traitor.
This is a plot convenience. That I don't... This happens, like, the dude raises the arrow and shoots the girl, and specifically he tries to murder the Solari kid first because he's a traitor, and then the girl protects him. But this thing, right there, that thing only happens because that's what happens in dramatic love stories. It's like, oh, we need to have all is lost moment when the girl gets shot and dies. That's why this happens. And again, if there had been a more cohesive story around it, you wouldn't necessarily be able to see this. Like if you had some setup of like, oh, this is how they execute Solari traitors or whatever. But here, it's just like the dude runs up, there she is, and him, traitor, and then he raises the bow and tries to shoot the boy. Because we need the girl to dramatically protect the boy so that she gets injured, so that he's the one who has to take the step over the edge and have faith and walk up into Eclipse and become a constellation where it's so naked. Like, it's so... Obviously, this is why it happens. It doesn't happen because of this character maybe has a grudge against the boy. Again, a little bit of setup where this guard particularly is like a fucking asshole to the Solari boy, and that's why he chooses to shoot him first. That would have been good drama. Like, that would have been, oh, fuck, I hate this guy. This guy's an asshole. Yeah, of course he would do that. Of course he would shoot him first. But there isn't any of that, so it's just a dude who, for some fucking reason, decides to shoot his own guy rather than the enemy first, for the sake of the convenience of the drama. And again, weirdly, with Leona, is like... You're not noticing? Like, it takes him a while. It takes him a good long while to get that bow up, Leona. Do you want to give the order not to hurt them like a second? No, because again, we need the convenience of the lady getting hurt, but we also need Leona not to be responsible for the lady getting hurt. So, oh, she just didn't stop him in time. It's not because she's actually evil enough to want to shoot the girl. Leona is a good person. We shouldn't feel evil. We shouldn't feel poorly about her. She was trying to help. She just failed for some reason, despite being the... Again, it's the thing of, why are they there? Like, really? You don't want to shout? Like, you don't want them to get shot, Leona, okay. You have, like, 4 or 5 seconds now, while the arrow is flying, to shout, look out! Anytime! No, it's just her. And again, she sees the arrow coming as well, so she pushes him out of the way and just stands there, waiting to get shot with it. It's, again, and... if it's plot contrivance, right? It's plot convenience. It's the thing that happens in dramatic romantic stories about impossible love against all odds. And that's fine, but the reason why you forgive the plot contrivances is because you have a good story leading up to them where you go, oh, I just want to see what happens to them. Like where you care about these characters. That's when you suspend your disbelief. And you just go, oh my god, the thing is happening, and even though you see it coming, it's still heart-wrenching and terrible, but I don't care about them.
Lyra!
And also, this sucks.
Lyra!
Really? Really? That... She got shot! The love of his life got shot right in front of him. Could we get a reaction shot of his face? No, because we need to have a reaction shot of Diana's face. Because even this animated short cannot be bothered to pretend that it gives a shit about these two kids. It doesn't. It doesn't care about them. It doesn't matter what they think, what they feel, how they... like, what their story is. It doesn't matter because Diana and Leona are the actual main characters of this short, except they don't get to do anything, or act, or talk, or have any kind of interaction with each other whatsoever anyway, because this short doesn't know what it wants to do. It doesn't know if it wants to tell a story about these two young lovers from houses alike in dignity and fair Targon where we lay our scene, or if it wants to tell a dramatic story about the relationship between Diana and Leona, aspect of the sun and moon. And that might have been the thing that went wrong in the writing process. Like, that they couldn't figure out, like, how the hell... We want to tell a story about Leona and Diana, but we've decided on this Romeo and Juliet thing as a layer in between them, and they just could never make it fit together. But this shot just annoyed me, because she's been shot protecting him, the love of his life. Could we get a close-up on his face of the dawning horror of what has happened, or like the love flooding out of his eyes as he like desperately helps her cling to life or tries to remove the arrow from her or something? And I know there's a censorship angle here. It's like, if you want a PG-13 rating, like there's a limit to how much physical violence you can portray happening to a character, so you cut away to a reaction shot instead of cutting to the thing actually happening. But then cut to the reaction shot from the guy who's most emotionally affected by the thing. But no, even here when she's shot, we don't care about the kids. They're not important. They're tiny. They're immaterial, completely pointless in the story. We care about this. This is what this shot is about. This shot is about, like, the boundary between night and day, sun and moon, light and dark, the eclipse that's happening. That's what the story cares about. It doesn't care about them at all. And when the story doesn't care about the central characters, you have a problem. Again, reaction shot from Diana, who's getting angry at Leona. Reaction shot from Leona, who's like, well, shit, I really sure should have shouted something so they could have gotten out of the way, or told my men not to hurt them, or done anything, or they should have had any agency in this story, made some kind of decision that could be dramatically interesting, but I guess it didn't do anything, or say anything, or have any meaningful impact on what's happening whatsoever. So I'll just stand here, staring sadly at things without acting, without having... thank you very much, Jason Gao, for that $1 Patreon pledge. Without acting, or being interesting, or having a character, or... He pulls the arrow out of her. No close-up on his face. We still only care about the eclipse until...
Night and day.
There! Finally! He's looking into her eyes. Isn't that nice? But instead of having a connection between them, like, instead of them telling you, but Lyra, I love you so much, please don't leave me, I need you, she starts talking more prophecy nonsense to him.
They are just two halves
Of the same circle.
They recite poetry at each other. Night and day are just two, because again, the story doesn't care about them, it only cares about them as metaphor.
Do you see it now? Our path together.
ooh, drama. Diana is about to maybe actually take an action of some kind. She's using her E. Is she gonna charge in and attack? Are we gonna have a scene where Diana and Leona fight each other out of anger and rage and like all their pent up years of frustration with each other, while these two kids walk off into the distance, and then as like maybe Diana's about to land a killing blow on Leona, or Leona has Diana on the ropes, they walk into the eclipse and become one symbolically in the sky, sort of signaling that maybe Lunari and Solari don't need to be in conflict after all, and they look up at that and they decide to drop their weapon. Are we gonna get an action scene? Is something dramatic gonna happen? No! They're just gonna stand there. Nobody does anything. Like, and again, it's not that that had to happen in order for this to be an interesting story at all, but it's just, I'm so starved for any fucking thing to happen with Leona and Diana, the actual main characters of this short, because these two kids, I don't have any reason to care about, so I'm looking for anything else to happen to give me something to be interested in.
Have faith.
The visual effects of this thing is gorgeous, by the way. Like, these, like, Aurora Borealis effects and the visual effects and just the art direction of the color use on those things with the interplay of, like, the green and the black. Very gorgeous. Really, really pretty. Hand animated. You knew we were gonna get there. And it's animated on 2s, and you can see there's a differential animation between when this bit moves and when that bit moves, and that's what gives it this lovely hand-animated feel and timing. So, that's gorgeous. And also, symbolically, like, the symbology that's being used here is we have the moon, the smaller circle, and the sun, the larger circle, and two, I think, hands? Kind of supposed to be like these two hands kind of clasping them together, symbolically showing that the unity of Lunari and Solari is possible, and that there doesn't need to be all this pointless, meaningless conflict, which is the, again, back to the quote that we started with, where, like, by their death, these two young lovers bring to end their parents' quarrel, their symbolic parents being Leona and Diana, but also more specifically the Lunari and Solari tribes. This is very strong. This is really good. This works. Or it would have worked if, again, if all the stuff leading up to it had worked, this would have been a gangbuster of an ending. But it didn't, so it's more like an, oh, yeah, I guess, obviously, fine, whatever. So here's a good shot, and this is where we get back to, why is Diana 500 million miles away from where the action is actually happening? Why isn't she closer to the people who she's nominally trying to protect? Well, because we need this shot. We need this shot right here of Leona and Diana, star-crossed lovers, staring at each other from across a literal great divide. Like, they're literally separated by a great chasm in the image itself, recognizing in each other like the meaning of what just has happened for their situation, like understanding what the judgment of Targon over these two young lovers means for the two of them, and yet still they're separated by this vast gulf of enmity and history and bitterness and violence and suffering that has driven them apart, and which is going to probably keep driving them apart for a long time, because even though the heavens have sanctified their connection, they themselves have still not found a way to bridge that divide. That's a really good shot. There's a good reason why Diana had to be far away. It's just, in order to set this stuff up, you had to compromise other aspects of the story in a way that just isn't justified. Really good shot. Actually, I'm going to take a screenshot of that. I'm going to use it as the thumbnail. There we go. This is a really good shot. Like, this is the point of the whole short. This is what it was all building up to. It was this moment of not really reconciliation, like they haven't forgiven each other completely, but this moment of both of them letting their weapons drop in realization that maybe the only relationship between them doesn't have to be hostile. Maybe that friendship that they used to share, like maybe there's a chance, like this little hint, this little beginning, this first tiny little step towards what could maybe be a reconciliation for them. Really, really good shot. Absolutely gorgeous. Love the color work in the background. Love the use of lighting. Absolutely, like, wallpaper worthy in my opinion. It's just, if anything else had just please worked. Now, let's talk about the actual animation of the thing. And I want to stress something. Like I said at the start, I've said multiple times really, I was nitpicking a lot of it. A lot of it was nitpicks. Little things that, like, they're not on their own, like, this is the objective reason why this thing sucks and nobody should like it. No. If you liked it, then you're not wrong at all. It's a million little things for me that just keep building up to more and more irritation that eventually overrides my enjoyment. Eventually there's just too much and I can't suspend my disbelief, and I can't just say, yeah, fine, it's a trope, but who cares? It's a story. Stories have tropes in them, that's normal. Where I just go, but if you were gonna do that trope, couldn't you at least have, and what if you did this other thing? As it kept getting to me, being too much for me to enjoy this. And so throughout my reaction to this thing, I have sounded very, very negative, as though I think this whole thing is just a waste and it's terrible and it should be thrown out and it's awful. No, I don't. I think there's a lot there to recommend. There's so many good basic ideas. Like, the concept of the thing is brilliant. Like, it's absolute. If we imagine this out further, if there had been a longer build-up to it, if we'd had some stories about these kids, about their relationship to their faiths in the Lunari and Solari faith, like their discovery of each other and their, like, overcoming mutual prejudices and falling in love and having this relationship, and if that had been contrasted with the relationship between Diana and Leona more broadly, and if we had set up these plot threads so that something here could actually, like, so that when the sun and moon converge in this short, there's also a convergence of pre-existing plot lines in the League of Legends universe. This would have been fucking amazing. Like, this would have been brilliant, absolutely excellent and brilliant, but the legwork just wasn't there. It just wasn't there. And so when I see this thing, when I look at this short, at least in part, I'm seeing all the stuff I wish it was, which is not a fair way necessarily to approach an animated short, is like, oh, but you should judge things for what they are and not for all the stuff they aren't. But at this point, I couldn't get away from it. I just couldn't. For me, I could not suspend my disbelief. I couldn't care about these characters because, in my opinion, the short itself doesn't. That's the thing that kills it, is that the short itself doesn't really seem to care about its ostensible main characters, and that just, then the metaphor doesn't work. They don't work as a metaphor for Leona and Diana's relationship. They don't work. I'm sorry, they just don't. Anyway, once again, I am sounding very down on it. I don't want to bash on anyone's work, because, like, I'm sure a lot of effort went into this thing. It's just, you know. Anyway, animation. So, there's a production thing with this thing. I know, I'm gonna do more criticism now. It's just like, but there are times in this short where I feel like the character animation gets a little stiff, and you can especially see that in the second guard, like the dude who only has a shield, not a spear, this guy over here. Take a look at how he runs. Like, he's keeping the shield arm steady, which makes sense because he's carrying a heavy weight. But then, like, this arm is, like, barely doing much. It's, like, just kind of swinging a little bit on the axis. And for all the weight, like, he's carrying along this giant metal shield, he's just kind of gliding across the ground almost. Like, I wish there would have been more reciprocating action, like more of a sense of like up and down motion and like real movement to his body, like a dynamic, like maybe even a little bit of squash and stretch on his body to like really emphasize that this guy's heavily armored, he's carrying like heavy weapons, and even more so on the spear guy who's also carrying a big heavy spear. They just, something about them feels a little bit weightless, and that's something that carries over into the animation we get as the girl approaches here. Like, if you take a look at her run, like, it's a perfectly competent run cycle. There's nothing wrong with it as such. It's just also, it also feels a little stiff. Like, it feels a little stiff, and I would have looked for, like, more flailing of the braids, maybe, because she's running fast. Like, she's running for her life here, essentially, is what's going on. And I understand why you wouldn't want to make her, like, run at a full sprint, but she's running for her life, and so there's a lot of opportunities here, like, to have her looking more over her shoulder. She does do a glance, like, here, like, one time. But, like, more of a sense of like, her, like, running low, trying to keep her profile low, trying to hide, like, something that, a little bit more acting could have been in here to really indicate that, like, this lady is literally running for her life, essentially. I do like the use of light, like how she passes through shadow and light, because, again, shadow and light, very much the metaphorical underpinning of the thing. And as she comes into the light, as she approaches her sun-worshipping boyfriend who has the sun at his back, whereas where she comes from shadow, he comes from light. Visual storytelling, very efficient, works very well, and again, the threshold of the thing itself, also very good, but I do wish there was a little bit more, like, some more spring in her run, some more, because this looks very glidey, doesn't it? Like, she's barely changing height ever, she's just kind of gliding across the ground, and it's not bad. I want to stress this. This is not like... I think there are elements of the storytelling in this thing that are genuinely bad, and I spent a lot of time ranting about those, but I don't think any part of the animation in this short is bad. It's just, again, this thing of... There's these opportunities for more acting, for more, like, the character communicating their state of mind and what's going on, like... Because... with no sound on, and pretend that you don't know that she's running from the Solari for her life... Does that look like the run of someone who's, like, escaping to meet the person that she loves so much in the whole world that she's willing to sacrifice her life to be with him? Which is here, like, again, why not have her, like, literally leap into his arms? Like, she's sort of, kind of, a little bit, like, there is a good thing here with the character acting where you can see she's literally, like, leaning her weight on him, like, her center of gravity is somewhere around here. She's leaning on him, and he's carrying her weight a little bit. But where, again... she's just barely escaped from prison to meet him, where the hug could be a lot tighter. Like, it could be much more of a desperate, like, oh god, I'm so glad, like, a much more of a hug of relief, rather than just, hey, here's my good pal who I haven't seen in a while. Yay. Like, it's, again, little things where I feel like a lot of this animation could have been pushed a lot more. Like, you could have pushed much harder for much more expressive movements than what's in here. So why didn't they? Well, there could be a number of reasons for this. Like, it could just be, this is how the animation director wanted it. The animation director didn't want too much exaggeration. They didn't want too much, like, overwrought. And they wanted to keep things kind of low. They wanted to keep things down to earth because that's the vibe that they wanted for the thing. I disagree with that, but I'm not going to sit here and say that, oh, that's objectively wrong or anything. They could also... be because of production constraints and production issues. Producing the kind of animation I'm talking about here, like where you push things really hard and you go for a lot of expression and stuff like that, it takes more time and work from the animators. It's not an easy it's not just, oh, let's just adjust the expressiveness button and put more acting in there by changing a number in the algorithm. No, it takes work, it takes time, it takes dedication from the artists and animators to make that thing work, and when you go for something that's more expressive, there's also the risk that it falls more flat. So there's this thing of, like, do we have the time? Do we have the budget? Do we have do we have the space in the storytelling? Because this thing is only 3 minutes long. You only have so much time to use. There's all kinds of reasons, structural reasons, production reasons, why animation is made the way that it is, why choices are made the way that they were. And it's not always about how good is the animator. Most of the time, what's holding any piece of animation, up to and including Disney movies, back from being even more amazing than they are, is because, well, at some point someone has to say, no, enough, we're done with this shot now, we have to move on to something else. Someone has to say, no, we can't do that much because then we have to do more on everything else as well in order to match it. So it could be budget, it could be production, it could be the animation director, it could be Riot. Riot themselves could have given notes that said, no, this is too much, we want that to be pared down a little bit more, we want it to be more somber, we want it to be less excited. Like, anything could have happened. Any number of things can conspire, because animation is a collaborative medium, and dozens, if not hundreds of people can have input on what exactly happens in the thing and what it looks like. So I don't want to just dump on the work of the animators, because it's not always just whether or not the animator knew to do that. It's a number of factors. So when I criticize the animation here, it's not because the animator is bad at their job. It's because of God knows what. I'm only criticizing the end product, not necessarily the people who made it. Anyway. So there's some good face animation here. Like, she looks at him, and then the Lunaria already here looks away. And again, I as a storytelling aspect, I criticize this heavily because she's just looking away, and it's like as though just to say to the viewer, oh, they're definitely there. Just she sees them. They're somewhere. You don't have to worry about it. We're not going to show them to you, but just trust us. She definitely, they're just off screen over there. They were there the whole time. Don't worry about it. Like that as a storytelling thing, I don't like that, but I do like the animation, especially on her eyes. Like as you see, as she is turning her head, the lids come down a little bit. She looks over to the side, and then as she looks up, the lids open up a little bit more. Like, there's a lot of really subtle work going on. Yeah, like that one. Like that movement right there with the eyes. Like the little lift of the head. That's quite... And it's a good blink as well. Blinks can be really hard to do. Like, that really works. And I like that she keeps her mouth open a little bit. Like, and the Lunari already are. Where she doesn't quite close her lips until she has this... Again, something I criticized as storytelling, where like she just suddenly happens to remember a convenient prophecy that relates to their current situation, which why wasn't that part of your escape plan the whole time? Okay, fine. But again, well acted. Like you can see the realization dawning on her face, like that she's looking up, and then there's this, like, look how her eyes kind of slide out of focus, and then there's this half blink and then a full blink, and it's like, oh shit, I just remembered something really important. Like, you get that fully from that, just from the expression of the eyes and like the slackening of the lips, and it's that works really well. And then, like, having remembered, you can see she dives into her memory. I've seen this before, and you can see that just because of the gesture of the eye, where like she turns her head down, and it's like you can see that she's searching through something. She's not looking at him, she's looking into herself, like she's looking into her own memories. This gesture of the eyes, like the looking down and the half-lidded eyes, that's a really effective way to do that, so that works really well. And also, I'm curious about the character models of these characters. Like, I'm curious about the rigging, about exactly how they work, because the texture work on these characters is very, very painterly. Like, it looks very like this could almost be... Remember that Annie animated short that Riot did a while back, where they essentially like produced it as looking like something like animated paintings? It has that kind of feel to it a little bit, almost as though these are two-dimensional, like these are 3D characters, these are 3D models, absolutely. But something about the way the facial animation is done almost feels like they're manipulating 2D images as textures across the surface of the mesh or something. I don't know. Probably not, like almost certainly not. Almost certainly there is an actual animation rig in there, but it's visually, it's really impressive. I really like how character faces are like have this painterly quality to them in the Tales of Runeterra shorts, and it works really well for this character right here because she looks very attractive, but she doesn't look plastic. Like, she doesn't... There's something, especially when you're dealing with things that are influenced by anime aesthetic, which League of Legends absolutely is, where characters who are meant to be attractive, who are meant to be beautiful, which she certainly is, can also be very bloodless. Like, they can feel like they don't sweat, they don't have like blood in them, they can't blush properly because they just get these little pink blushes that anime characters do. But these characters, like, look at the lips, look at the especially the lower part of her lips. Look under her eyes. There's little bags under her eyes. There's lines. There's like a sense of an actual life being lived there. Her nose looks a little bit glossy, as though there is a little bit of sweat or oil on it. Not like gross levels, but there's a little bit on there just to show like the grime of life, which gives such a greater sense of the character being alive, of having like a three-dimensionality to them than you get from anime art, which by its nature, by its stylized nature, is often stylized to look much more flat. Especially faces are stylized in anime style to look much more flat. I really like this. And again, it's annoying that the short cares so little about them and so much about the eclipse, but the visual storytelling here does work in the sense that these two tiny little people are part of a much, much greater set of events. Like, that's what the visual storytelling here is, that there's some monumental, celestial, enormously powerful events in motion, and these two people are kind of at the mercy of these celestial forces. Like, the eclipse is the thing that's going to let them escape. It's going to be the bridge to their something or other. They are kind of small compared to what's happening up here. Visual storytelling, very good, but also, don't care about these characters. They don't matter. They're not interesting. Don't worry about it. Like, no focus on who they are, what they want, how they want, because you have this long dialogue scene where she's telling him, like, a bunch of stuff. Like, there's so much talking, but the camera is only interested in the eclipse. And as a consequence, there's minimal character animation on the characters themselves. Like, I'm just going to play through it at normal speed right now. And they barely move. Like, at all. And, of course, they wouldn't, because they're talking intimately to each other, so there's no need for huge animated expressiveness or anything. But it's like, couldn't you have a cut to their faces? Like, to show us how they feel about the sun and the moon right now? Like, how they feel about each other, some kind of connection? No, we're just gonna stay on this long establishing shot from really far away, as though the characters themselves aren't important to anything that's happening. Okay, fine. Because here we get them reaffirming their love for each other. Here, like, and there is a little bit of an acting good thing here where she's staring away from him. She's looking up at the sun and moon. She's staring at the eclipse. She's focused on that because she's the one who has faith that the eclipse will be their salvation, their way out. He, on the other hand, is looking at her because he's fixated on her. He cares about saving her. He's not really here for all the prophecy nonsense. He's here for her. That's good storytelling. That would have been a great bit of characterization to have where, like, his thing is, like, he's more down to earth and cares, like, more about, like, I just need to get this woman that I love away from this terrible place where she's going to get hurt and killed. And she's like, there's greater events in motion than you can even fathom. I have more faith. Like, again, that spiritual difference between the two would have been great as a point of characterization between them, but no, instead it's just, yeah, he's just gonna hug her. But anyway, again, the idea here is really good, like, because he's reaffirming his love for her. He's like, I'm not gonna let them separate us no matter what it takes. Like, I'm willing to die for you, baby, is essentially what he's saying right now. And then he hugs her, and that's a really good idea, but then how does he hug her? Really? That's a lover's hug? Like, two people clinging desperately to each other because they are the only thing that they have in the world at all. They are each other's only hope, or their only home, knowing that they've betrayed everything that they stand for, both with the Lunari and the Solari, and they're probably going to get killed if they get caught. Like, you could have clutched, like, a little bit more of a pulling one another into each other and trying to become symbolically one in the same way that they're going to become one as they step into the eclipse. Again, the idea is good. And this could, again, there's all kinds of reasons for why maybe that's not even possible. Maybe something in the way that these characters are rigged. Maybe the way that they interact in terms of clipping. Who knows? There can be all kinds of reasons why characters can only interact in certain ways. Yes, hello, Mr. Carman outside with your loud engine. Oh, no, it's a tractor. Okay, that's fair enough, then. I thought it was some, like, 22-year-old with a muffler from his car or something. Whatever. Like, there's all kinds of technical reasons why maybe there's a limitation to exactly what kinds of interactions you can have the characters have with one another. So again, it's not just a matter of the animator. But, like, that gesture right there, this one is good. Like, we go in for the initial hug, which is this, and then he pulls her a little bit tighter. That's a really good gesture, but that's where, like, bury your face in her neck then, or, like... try to smell her hair, like, because you're so obsessed with your love for this person who's the only one that matters to you in the world, rather than doing this dramatic Anakin stancing where you're, like, framed against the light, and with, like, no, try to become one with her, like, pull her into your presence so that you cannot be separated. That's the thing you're saying, is nobody can tear us apart. That's when you should be squeezing her the tightest. But again, lots of reasons why maybe that's not a thing that they could do. And then we get this shot again, where, like, I'm so missing, right here, that the characters, before they run, would look at each other one time, like, cut in close for a close-up, give us some emotion, give us some feeling, give us some something, but, you know, whatever, it's fine. I do like the little jump he does, as he turns around, and he gets ready to run. Look at the little jump he does, like, he lands on his his right foot, it would be. And then he does a little hop, and then you can see he lands on his back foot, and then that one kicks off, and then he's into the run. That's a good little gesture. Like, that's a lovely little, like, he's like almost hopping along, and then, yeah, that's really good, because that contrasts with the way that she's running, because she just goes into a run immediately, so you have this contrast in movement aesthetics between them that's really good. Like, that's a good detail. I really like that. And then there's Leona. I don't know about... So, this is not about this animated short at all. This is not a problem with the short. But it's a problem with Leona's character design. Look what she's doing right now. She's bending forward completely, right? Like, she's really bending down forward over. She's curving her back, looking down on the ground. Now look at her chest. I know, but look at her chest as she rises. You notice that little star of sun emblem thing there? That's a big spike. Where did that spike go when she bent forward? Where did it go? Well, it gets hidden by her body, so we can't quite see it. But if you have a giant spike that sits right over the center of your body, as you bend down over forward, you're going to stab yourself. It's going to be very unpleasant. Leona's character design has a lot of these problems. And I'm curious to see that in this version of her character, at least, the animators make the good decision that apparently these golden bands, or whatever the hell they are, on her character design, and I know Iron Stylus, the artist who originally designed her, has a lot of regrets about the way he created her character design. He would do it very differently today. Because one of the problems with her has always been, what the hell is that? Like, what's the wine-colored bodysuit thing that she's wearing, which has a metal collar or two, and has metal bolted onto it somehow? Is that cloth? I guess it is, because here it folds like it's cloth, but then there's these metal bits on her that she can bend quite easily, and bend them, and they fold as well, as though they're made of cloth, except they're clearly made of metal, exactly the same metal that her shield is made of. And there's just some character design problems that Leona has as a character, where there's these details about her, like the really high heels on her boots for some reason, where I'm looking at it and I'm just going, no, you can't move like that. Your character design prohibits it. Go away, Skillshare. Your character design prohibits it. That should not be remotely possible for you, but that's not this animated short's fault at all. They just have to do what they do, and you can see that. You can see it here. That at least as far as this animated short is concerned, this is cloth, and it folds like cloth, because that's the only way she can move. It's the only way she can move her body at all. They had to do this, because otherwise Leona cannot move. Just saying, her character design could really do with an update, which she has gotten. A tiny bit of an update here. She's not wearing her giant golden skirt in this animated short, presumably because, again, if she was, she wouldn't be able to do this. She wouldn't be able to kneel down and look at the ground. This thing, apparently, these golden things also, because those things are definitely not flexible metal. So they had to make some changes to her character design to make her work for the purposes of what she has to be able to do for this animated short, because Leona's character design has problems. I love her. I've played a lot of her. She's a good character, but her character design needs work. Anyway, not the fault of the animated short at all. And again, love this shot. Like, this shot works really well. It does exactly what it's supposed to do. And then here, again, I feel like the expressiveness of their emotion could have been pushed. He's got good expressiveness. Like, I love the little detail of him, like, as he's climbing up, leans forward, puts a hand on the ground just to steady himself, and then he does that little hop. Like, you can see he pushes off from down here, whoop, and pushes himself up with this little jumping motion, and then he, like, gets into a rise again. Like, there's good little details here. But again, they feel very stilted and kind of awkward as they're walking here, I feel like. Which isn't natural, because they're climbing up a slope. That's always kind of awkward and weird, but... Diana, my good girl. Really wish that you had more expression on you. Because with Leona is all about being the opposite of Diana. Like, Diana and Leona are day and night. They're mirror opposites of each other. And the thing about Diana is that she's always been the angry one. She's always been the one who has a lot more emotion, who has a lot more, like, internalized anger, justified anger, by the way, because people treated her like fucking assholes, and tried to murder her, so she has a lot of good reasons to be mad, which is why she has this dark eyeshadow that kind of looks like almost she's been crying, or as though she has dark bags under her eyes. That's a good part of her character design, is that literally her eyes are darkened by hate and rage and anger. Good. One thing I'm kind of missing from her characters, from her animation here, and again, this could be the animation director, a little bit more of a visual signifier that she's actually pissed off all of the time, like really fucking angry, pretty much permanently. Or at least that she's more angry than Leona, that she has more emotion and more emotional reaction than Leona. For the most part in this short, she doesn't, and Leona and Diana both. Like, Diana doesn't get to do much animation, like, she just kind of walks forward, and then she stands there. And that's kind of the whole of what she even does in this short, which again, that's not a problem with the animator, that's the director who's saying, don't let her do anything, just have her stand there and stare, which is in the script, I'm sure, and then the script writer maybe has some explanation to do of why he would have one of the most, like, angry, active characters in League of Legends canon just stand there and be passive for the whole thing, but okay, fair enough. Enough nitpicking, enough. Here's a good thing that I like. As they both rise into view as they're staring at the eclipse on their way out. Again, she stares at the eclipse, like she stares at the sun and moon. He looks at her. And that's a great little character acting detail. He looks at her because she's the center of his world. She's the one he cares about. Like, she's the only thing that matters to him. That's a really great bit of character acting. Really wish he would have had more story to express that love and the importance, and maybe we could understand why it is that she's so important to him, that he would sacrifice absolutely anything for her to be safe and happy. Like, does he have a bad home life? Are the Solari just real assholes to him? Who knows? I don't know. It doesn't matter. The story doesn't care. But good acting. This right here is good. This is good acting. I really like that as a detail. And then he looks and sees, oh, no, wait, hang on, this is a cliff. That's a problem. Uh-oh. What are we gonna do about that? Here's a good bit of visual storytelling again. The sun is over here. That's where he is. The moon is over there. That's where the shadow and the dark is. That's where she is. He's more illuminated than she is. While she's much... Like, she has these edge lightings, but she's mostly in shadow, and he has much more sunlight on him because, again, sun, moon, light, dark. The visuals here are doing a great job of storytelling that bit. And as she grasps his hand and lifts it, a little bit of sunlight illuminates her face because, again, he is her son, and that works really well, and I just wish they would get to have more character because there could be such a good love story there. Like, there could have been so much good angst and pining and romance, but I guess not. Anyway, time for this guy to painfully slowly take aim at and shoot the boy who's part of his own tribe for some reason, as Leona, terribly distracted by absolutely everything that's happening, apparently, completely fails to stop him. But there's some good acting on Leona. Like, as she realizes, you see that she looks over and realizes what the hell it is that he's doing. Look at her face. Actually, let's zoom in on her face because her face is good. Whoop. That's pretty good. Like, you see that she looks over and then her eyes widen. Like, right there, all of a sudden there's more white in her eyes and she's like, no, wait, no, oh, god damn it, I should really shout look out or something. I really should, like, I probably should warn them that there's an arrow coming towards them that's gonna kill them. Anytime now. I guess, look out? And again, storytelling-wise, I don't like this moment because it's so contrived in a way that doesn't feel justified by the story that we've seen so far, but fair enough. She pushes him out of the way, and there's a good moment here, like, of her realization. And you can see, like, she puts her whole body weight, like, the entire weight of her torso just into shoving him out of the way. But then... again, and this is the direction, this is the script that says she stands there and takes the arrow, where what I would have liked to see is that she at least tried to dodge, like that instead of just turning to face it, that she at least attempted to maybe like duck or get out of the way or something. That would have been nice. Anyway, you've been protecting this Lunari girl the whole time, and now she gets shot by the Solari. Diana, do you want to have a reaction to that? No? Just like a slight gasp and lean forward. Okay, you don't want to be angry. You don't want to do, yeah, like maybe like have your eyebrows knit harder, or lines, furrows on your face, or grit your teeth, or get pissed off. No? Or maybe make your face tattoo glow with moon power or night. No? Okay, again. That's probably more the direction than the animator, but... And again, this shot where, like... This shot right here, the one that we cut to from Diana, it should not have been this. It should not have been the wide shot where the camera cares about the eclipse and the light and dark boundary only. It should have been... I mean, maybe I can recreate it a little bit with a bit of movie magic. It's gonna be low resolution, but... Maybe this, so that the thing that the camera cares about is that she got hurt and he's supporting her and he's trying to help her find rest. And then once you have done that, you can do the zoom out and show the background of the, like, just give us some, have this character acting happening right there. That's important to the emotional through line of the whole thing. Do you want to show us? Do you want to let us see them do that? Do you want to let the animators have a chance to express themselves? No? Okay, fine. I guess we'll just stare at the eclipse until Diana decides to still not get angry. She's just, like, vaguely upset. She's just like, I shall talk to the manager about this. This is a Karen face. This isn't... Again, I'm criticizing it for what it's not more than for what it is, which is not entirely fair. But I don't have anything else, so. Now, Leona, it makes more sense, because Leona is someone, like, my sense of their lore is that Leona is, like, the Solari are way too harsh on it. Like, she's someone who's sort of a peacemaker. She's trying, like, she doesn't necessarily want to join Diana in the Lunari. In fact, she definitely doesn't. But she is also someone, she doesn't want to kill anyone. She doesn't want to hurt anyone. She's a protector. She cares about keeping everybody safe. So it makes more sense for her, like her demeanor, her attitude, her behavior to be very much more downplayed in contrast to Diana's rash, impulsive nature, for her to be much more calm, much more level-headed, much less willing to show her emotions. So for her, this very downplayed animation where like mostly you just see the emotion play out in her face as she looks down, like she realizes what has happened and she looks down and you can see she sets her jaw and closes her lips. And there's this slight sense that she's swallowing, like doing a little bit of a, like stealing herself, swallowing her emotions, swallowing her words, which is good. Like this is a good way to act that particular kind of character. It's just they acted Diana the same way too, and I wish they hadn't. Anyway, again, camera, hi, do you wanna, we know the eclipse is there. It's been established like 14 times that the eclipse is happening, and when the eclipse happens, the climax of the story is gonna happen. We know there's a ticking clock, we get it. Could we instead get a look at the young lover for whom this is the center of his universe, who's watching the life drain from her eyes and the hopelessness that's overtaking him as she tells him finally to have faith and believe in her, and he steps over the edge because he's so driven by his love that he cares so deeply for her that he'll do that. No, okay, we just, fine, fair enough. The eclipse is more important, I guess, as we finally get a close-up on the main characters. And here again, things could have been pushed. Like, I think the fundamental ideas of the acting in this scene are good. But, like, she's been shot with an arrow. I would have liked it if she had, like, more visible pain. Like, she was screwing her face up, like, she's clenching her teeth, speaking through pain, rather than just talking like she's kind of sleepy and tired, which is mostly, like, what I think what they told the voice actor to do here. I would have liked her to speak more through pain, like, to wince and to, like, to clutch herself or something, like something more to demonstrate that she's suffering right now. Because again, that's the point of the Romeo and Juliet story, is that the young lovers suffer for the redemption of their warring families. That's the whole point. There should be suffering. There should be visceral, visible suffering. And you can do that even without breaking censorship. You can do that without being gauche. You can just, like, you can, especially him too, like, his face is so fucking blank. Like, make him more distressed, make him sadder, make him cry, like, something. You could have pushed this so much more. The basic acting that's going on here is really good. That he's just, like, he only cares about her, and his face is in shadow as she's being lit up by the eclipse, because now this is his darkest moment, and this is when she, like, tells him to have faith in like the power of the celestial, and moonlight on the right side of her face, sunlight on the left side of her face, good visual storytelling while he's in shadow because he's losing hope. All of that is good. I just wish there was more of a sense of him being horrified and scared and seeing his own world collapse in front of him as she's dying because she got shot by one of his own people, rather than just kind of sit there quietly and let her talk. But that's the director again, and the script. Like, the script demands that instead of them having like a strong emotional connection with each other right now, that they recite poetry at one another, that the sun and the moon, do you see now, the sun and moon are part of the same circle. Instead of them reciting poetry at each other, I would have liked the director to make literally any other choice in this moment, but that's me, again, whatever. And there, finally, some acting. Look, he gets to act a little bit as the eclipse happens. Look at his face, look at his eyebrows, look. Like, you can see he's looking at the eclipse, but you get this sense that he's, like, forcing himself to look at it because he just wants to look back at her. There's uncertainty, there's fear, there's doubt in his eyes. There's this, like, all of a sudden he has some emotion for me to react to and relate to and care about. Where, again, I would have liked her to give some more visible indication that she's been literally shot, but okay. Yes, hello, Mr. Engine Man. I don't know if that was a motorcycle or scooter or whatever. Because that would have been really good. And again, Diana, would you like to be angry here, or are you still just demanding to see the manager of the Starbucks that got your name wrong on the cup? No? Okay, fine. Here's a good shot. This is a really good shot. I love the colors. I love the use of light, and I love the edge lighting around the characters that kind of profiles them and highlights them against the sky as they stand on the precipice of a possible new world, and the magic that illuminates everything around them, and the majesty and the grandeur of the cosmos, which is not interested in the petty squabbles of humanity, but rather would see us unite in glorious harmony, like the stars themselves, a perfect circle of a sphere of light that surrounds us all. All of that is really, really good, and it would have landed so. Thank you very much, Fabian, for editing your pledge to 20. It's kind of you. I can't get the pop-ups to not show up when I'm doing these recordings, so have some insight into my mailbox, I suppose. It would have been so good. This would have been, if this had been handled correctly, this shot would have made me cry. Like, if it had been a good story leading up to it, I could have, yeah. And again, good acting decisions being made with the character here, and good directorial decision, like having the camera from below, coming from the abyss that he's about to step into, zooming in on his face, like closing in on him, and you can kind of see, like, he closes his eyes there, and lets go of doubt, and decides to have faith, and believe in the woman that he loves. Great moment. Could have pushed things a little bit more, she seems to be sleeping, rather than, like, is she dead at this point? Is she actually dead? No, she's not, because she's going to get up and walk in just a second, but some pain, something, anything to indicate that, no, okay, fine. Like, so many good choices, but there's also so many moments where I'm just like, you could have pushed this harder, you could have gone more, but I do love this. Like, as he's about to step forward, right? It's not 100% clear from the motion that happens here as he decides to step forward whether he's taking a step or whether he's letting himself fall. And that's a good little moment of, like, oh shit, is he actually gonna jump off the cliff? Which is why it's a good reaction shot to cut to Diana or Leona here to go, holy shit, they're gonna fall! And then they don't. And that's where I would have only cut to one of them. I would have cut to Diana, and then a shot of the foot coming down and stepping on to hard light as they ascend the thing into the sky. Instead, we get this cut to Leona, which is a little bit unmotivated. I get that we want to see how both of them react to the thing, but Leona can have her reaction shot in a second. Instead, we get just the light. The light of heaven illuminating the both of them, which is not a terrible decision all on its own. But this shot right here should have happened after we got a shot, a dramatic orchestral swell of the foot coming down and the stairway to heaven quite literally appearing. There's a lady who's sure all that glitters is gold. Like that should have been the climax. Should have been the foot coming down and finding that instead of air, the leap of faith has produced a path forward. Like that should have been the focus rather than Leona. But whatever. Beautiful, absolutely gorgeous, love the colors, love the lighting, love the composition is really good too, with like Leona and the guards essentially serving as a kind of frame for the young lovers so that they don't get lost in the grandeur that they're walking into, and then we have the path and the thing. I was like, oh, very pretty, really good. I love it a lot. I would have loved it a lot more if the story had worked. Anyway. They're fine now, and that's okay. Like, here it's completely okay that she's fine, that she's healed, that magically she has transcended her injuries, because that's the point of what's happening here, is that they are transcending the mortal plane. They're transcending mortal concerns. They're transcending Lunari and Solari. They're literally walking into the heavens to be united forever as a constellation of some kind. And again, Diana, would you like to have more emotion? Of it, like, any feelings on the matter whatsoever? That, like, you've just seen visible proof that you don't have to be an enemy of Leona for all time, that maybe there's reconciliation, you don't have to fight and hate each other. Is anything? No? Okay, fine. Because that's a great moment, and the visual effects that accompany it are, oh, so good. Like, the spiraling power, like, sweeping up Mount Targon combined with the already present Aurora Borealis. Do they have an Aurora Borealis on Runeterra? I don't actually know. And then, whoosh, boom, as the constellation forms with shadows of the two lovers briefly illuminated against the sky. Yes, all of that is good. It's good visual storytelling. It's good animation. I love it. And then for some reason, the guards just leave, I guess. Like, Leona's, oh, well, I guess nah, they're gone. Let's just we'll go home. I don't care. It's over. Again, that question of why are Leona and Diana even there? And then somehow, like, Diana is visible. Like, she's just there. Like, she is not hidden. She hasn't been hiding for a while. But I guess only now Leona notices her. Somehow. And you can see Diana raising the weapon, getting ready for a fight, maybe. Which, again, is where, if there had been more visible emotion on Diana's face leading up to this, like, if she had been more visibly angry and outraged and, like, furious with the Solari and the violence that they inflict on those who don't follow their faith, then here there would have been real tension. Like, there would have been a real question of, like, is she gonna charge? Like, is the ultimate gonna come out? Is she gonna do, like, the moonfall? What's gonna happen here? But instead, because we already know that Diana isn't really that emotionally charged up, we just get this. Now, let's talk about Leona and Diana. It's been a while, I know, so we talk about it. Leona and Diana are not canonically lovers. They are not canonically star-crossed lesbian lovers who, like, are tragically separated by the machinations of fate or whatever. Canonically, they're not. But they were supposed to be. And the way that I know that is because I have spoken to Diana's writer, who has confirmed it outright that no, that we wrote them as like, they were literally supposed to be tragic lesbian lovers separated by a notion of, like, faith and spirituality and a history of bigotry within their own community. That's what was supposed to happen. I've spoken with Leona's character designer, who confirmed that that was literally the idea with both characters the whole time, was that they were going to be lovers separated by fate, like a desperate, angsty lesbian love relationship kind of thing, star-crossed lovers, two ships passing in the night destined never to meet. That kind of thing was the idea the whole time from everybody who was involved with working on them, but management kept saying no, and 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 kept saying no, for years and years and years and years, until finally they allowed the writer of Nico to confirm on Twitter that, yeah, she's technically supposed to be a lesbian, but we couldn't put any of that in the actual game, and so, yeah. So I saw some comments on my shitpost that I posted before this video from people saying, oh, no, they're not lovers, that's just a fan theory, it's not true, it's not. No, it's not a fan theory. It's like literally it was supposed to be canon to the point where the people who used to work on the characters still insist that this really should be canon and everybody who interacts with the characters should consider it canon, and that it was always meant to be this way. And pretty much, as far as I know, all the writers I've spoken to agree that, yeah, we would very much like to do that, but we're not allowed to. So just saying, if you're out there being like, no, they're not lesbians, this is SJW, blah, 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 well, you're wrong, objectively speaking wrong, and the rioters are on my side on this one, so respect their creative freedom and shut the hell up. Anyway, I really like the shot. Like, I complained so much about the machinations that went into place in order to get it there, and I like I like the quietness of it. I like that there's not a lot going on there. I really like, because I think that may have been the whole goddamn motherfucking point of this whole short. The whole reason why they sacrificed those two young lovers who we never got to know to the stars to make a visual symbology that, you know, the two disparate halves could be united, is to heighten that specific tragedy, which again, it would have worked so much better if it was actually canon that Leona and Diana are former lovers, or people who would have been lovers if circumstances have been different, who had like a deep romantic love for each other that can never be realized because they're separated by the auspices of faith and time and society. This would have been a wonderful shot for that particular fantasy, but because it's not canon, it doesn't land that that's what's supposed to be happening here, is that they too are a Romeo and Juliet story, that their story is like that of the two lovers who had the bravery to take the leap and trust each other and have faith in one another and love each other in a way that Leona and Diana, especially Leona, never did. Like, it's an illumination of their own failure to find common ground, to meet each other in the middle, to create a synthesis of their beliefs rather than throw it all into a violent tragedy. And by the way, just for the record, I have a lot more sympathy for Diana than Leona in this situation, because Diana is like, they tried to murder her, and you didn't do nothing, so Diana is right, you're wrong, you should apologize, Leona. Anyway, that again, this shot is so wonderful as an encapsulation of what their relationship should have been if the people who made them got to have their way about who these characters are. But because they didn't, it falls flat for a lot of people, and unfortunately it fell flat for me because it just reminded me of what we could have had if Riot had had a little bit more courage in their publishing, but whatever. It's a good shot, worthy of a wallpaper. Leona and Diana are a great couple. And when I say they're a great couple, I don't mean a happy one. Like, I don't mean that their story is happy or that they would have a healthy relationship. I mean, it's emotionally interesting to me and fraught and fascinating and full of stuff that can be explored and good angst and pining and sadness and like stuff that makes for a good tragic romance. Not like, you shouldn't want to have a relationship like that in real life. That would suck and hurt and be bad. But as a fictional relationship, man, wish they were allowed to pursue that. Anyway, that was a long video. Boy, howdy, that was a long video. I hope you have enjoyed all this rambling, because there sure was a lot of it. Anyway, if you have like, comment, and or subscribe buttons down below, clicky click, make the number go up, algorithm engagement, make happen because YouTube stuff good. Yes, thank you. That would be very good, because it's literally how I pay the rent, so, very helpful. You can also, if you feel like it, I have a Patreon, I have a merchandise store, and I have a tip jar. You can use them if you want to give me some direct contributions, which I'd be very grateful for, but please don't feel any pressure to do so. Right, but at the end of my videos, I usually at least try to make the argument that if you have content that you enjoy online, and that's whether it's me or someone else, like literally no matter where or what it is, please try to support content creators directly with anything you can, whenever you can, because like a $1 Patreon pledge literally means the same as like 1,000 extra views a month. Like, it's the same as if 1,000 more people had watched my videos. And for some content creators, a single dollar can be the same as tens of thousands of views, depending on how much they get in ad revenue from YouTube, because that shit fluctuates up and down absolutely everywhere you go. So again, if you have a content creator that you enjoy, especially someone who creates niche content that doesn't get a lot of advertising money, please consider supporting them directly with anything you can, whenever you can, because you make a huge impact, even though it doesn't necessarily feel like that always. Anyway, outside of that, thank you very much for watching. Please remember to wash your hands, and if you're going outside, just do everybody a big favor. And please wear a mask.